Two of the three judges gave Roach the 12th round. He needed that 12 just to make it a draw. That to me was surprising. So there's a lot of head scratchings here tonight when you talk about the score.
Clearly in there, man. I thought I won. I thought I did enough to get the victory.
If I'm Tank Davis and I'm coming off a disappointment in terms of my offensive output, I'm not going straight to the best defender in the division. I'm looking for some other fight, and I think the logical fight for him is a rematch with Lamont Roach. Let's see it again.
The fight between Gervonta, Tank Davis, and Lamont Roach Jr. was expected to be a routine title defense for Davis, but quickly became one of the most controversial bouts in recent boxing history.
Lamont did this thing, though. You can't take nothing away from him.
He fought a hell of a fight.
He really can't. He stood in front of him, took his best shot. He was standing in the pocket, blocking, throwing back. Like, he was doing a lot of good things in there. And, he gained a lot of fans tonight, I'll tell you that much, for sure, 100%.
And I do think that Roach actually won the fight. I thought he outworked Tank. I thought that he threw more punches than Tank.
Following the controversial majority draw, numerous boxing professionals, including WBC lightweight champion Shakur Stevenson, have weighed in, many showing support for Roach.
They don't know.
Okay.
We still got to see each other. He say he want to fight me, so we gonna fight.
But what do you think about the decision?
I told him I won.
You told him I won.
Shakur Stevenson, known for his analytical approach, shared his thoughts on the fight's outcome. He revealed that he had bet on Roach Jr., stating, "I made at least $20,000 betting on Roach Jr. tonight." In another post, Stevenson praised Roach's performance and suggested that if Roach couldn't secure a rematch with Davis, he would be willing to step in, even putting a world title on the line. On social media, he tweeted, "and if Lamont can't get a rematch, I got a big fight for him and a world title shot against me. That's my bro, but we can definitely make something happen." Veteran commentator Jim Lampley also weighed on the fight, expressing his desire for a rematch after Roach's impressive performance. Additionally, he advised Davis to avoid rushing into a fight with Stevenson, suggesting that after a tough bout like this, Davis should take a more calculated approach.
If Tank won't fight the rematch, what happens with him and Shakur? How do you see
Shakur
that fight
Stevenson has a reputation as being the best defender in the division. He is a feared fighter because of that particular quality. If I'm Tank Davis and I'm coming off a disappointment in terms of my offensive output, I'm not going straight to the best defender in the division. I'm looking for some other fight, and I think the logical fight for him is a rematch with Lamont.
Lampley hailed Roach as the best fighter at 130 pounds, emphasizing that he silenced his doubters with his performance. He expressed his desire to see Roach do it again and solidify his status as the top fighter in the division.
Let's see it again. Let's see if Roach can go ahead and capitalize on what he showed here tonight, which is he was a much better fighter at 135 pounds than most of us expected him to be.
Okay, who do you lean towards in Gervonta versus Shakur if that does happen? Who are you favoring?
Based on what I saw tonight, I would have to lean to Shakur Stevenson.
During his live commentary on his private channel, teddyatlas reacted in disbelief when Gervonta Davis took a knee during the fight. He questioned what had happened and why the referee didn't officially rule it as a knockdown.
I think the referee started counting 8.
Whoa, what was that?
The referee's trying to figure this out. I think he's going to give an 8 count. He went down on the knee. I guess.
Wow.
I guess
what
he
is
talked his
going
way
on?
out. I think Tank talked his way out of that. He talked his way out of the traffic ticket with the cop. The cop had him going through a red light, and he talked his way out of it.
Atlas likened the situation to a traffic stop, suggesting that Davis managed to talk his way out of a call that should have gone against him. He also mocked the notion of a fighter taking an unofficial break mid-fight, comparing it to a pit stop in a race.
He went down on a knee. He went to the corner. He must have had Vaseline in his eye. Whatever. He went to the corner to wipe. You're not allowed to do that. I mean, we're not in the Indianapolis 500. There's no pit stops.
Wow.
I mean, really, someone's got to explain that to me.
We're
And the
eating up
referee,
now.
I think the referee got talked out of it. But now they're going at it.
The fight was so hyped and controversial that even Joe Rogan felt compelled to rewatch and analyze it in depth. He called it an outstanding contest and admitted he had never seen Lamont Roach fight before, but but after witnessing his performance, he became a fan. Rogan also emphasized that the fight ended in a draw and expressed his desire for a rematch. In an Instagram post, he wrote, "Watching the replay of the outstanding title fight last night between Tank and Roach. I had never seen Lamont fight before, but I'm a big fan now. The fight was a draw, but it was an amazing contest, and I really hope they run it back." Meanwhile, Brian Custer analyzed Gervonta Davis's approach, suggesting that he relied too much on his knockout power. Custer pointed out that elite fighters sometimes become overly confident in their ability to end fights with a single punch. According to him, Davis seemed to believe he would eventually land a fight-ending shot. But when Roach absorbed his punches and kept pressing forward, it was already too late for Davis to adjust his strategy.
No, I thought he felt really well. I think, sometimes when you get at that level, you fall in love with your own power, I think. And I think this was one of those fights where Tank thought, okay, I'm going to get him with that one-punch knockout power. And then when he found out that this guy is in front of me, he's taking it. I think it was too late. I thought it was disappointing in the draw.
If we break down the fight, it began with Lamont Roach dictating the pace, moving fluidly and using his jab to keep Gervonta Davis at bay. Unlike many of Davis's previous opponents who started cautiously, Roach was willing to engage early. By the second round, he began landing clean counterpunches, slipping inside Davis's wide shots and tagging him with quick combinations. The crowd, initially pro-Davis, started murmuring as Roach continued to outbox the favorite. Amid all the chaos, George Kambosos Jr. didn't hold back his thoughts. He mocked Davis by referencing past criticism he had received for his own losses and suggested it was now Davis's turn to face scrutiny. Kambosos credited Roach for his performance and made it clear he believed the decision was unfair. In a tweet, he wrote, "Ouch, there goes the perfect record." That was a knockdown that ultimately made the difference. The dwarf had to go at me for my losses to Haney and Loma. Come a look at yourself, Wanky Tanky. Great work, Roach, respect. Tanky, the jig is up. Veteran boxing journalist Dan Raphael also weighed in, emphasizing the financial and career impact of the controversial decision. He explained that missing the knockdown call not only affected the fight's outcome, but also cost Roach millions of dollars and the opportunity to cement himself as a world champion. On his X handle, Raphael wrote, "Understand that missing that knockdown call has cost Roach literally millions of dollars, a career-defining victory, and another world title." As the fight progressed into the third and fourth rounds, Roach pressed the action even more, landing precise left hooks and body shots that seemed to sap some of Davis's aggression. Though Davis had his moments, Roach was the clear winner of the early rounds. However, in the seventh round, Davis landed his best punch of the fight, a looping left hand that momentarily rocked Roach. For the first time, Roach looked vulnerable, and Davis tried to capitalize. In the eighth round, Davis again pressed forward, but Roach remained disciplined, slipping punches and returning fire. Jeff Mayweather analyzed Davis's approach, highlighting that he followed his usual strategy of studying his opponent before launching his offense. However, this time, things didn't go as planned because Roach responded aggressively instead of being overwhelmed. Asterisk, he was just waiting to figure out whoever was in front of him like he always does and then go to work. But this time, when he went to work, the guy went to work back. He had somebody firing back at him the same way. Mayweather explained. Mayweather made it clear that he believed Roach was the rightful winner of the fight. While he admitted to being a fan of Davis, he felt that Davis did not look like his usual self in this bout. Instead of the dominant and explosive version of Davis he expected to see, Mayweather saw a fighter struggling against Roach's pressure and counterattacks.
I thought he won the fight clearly. I mean, I didn't see Gervonta really the Gervonta that I know. I mean, I'm a big Gervonta fan, but I didn't see none of the Gervonta that I'm used to seeing.
The fight remained evenly contested in the early rounds, with neither fighter gaining a clear edge. However, in the fifth round, Gervonta Davis began to shift the momentum, increasing his pressure and closing the distance. While Roach continued to land clean shots, he had to work harder to keep Davis at bay. By the sixth round, Davis's power became more evident as a series of solid uppercuts forced Roach to clinch. Then came the 9th round, the defining moment of the fight. Roach landed a sharp right hook to the temple, followed by a stiff left hand. Davis took a step back, blinked, and suddenly dropped to a knee. The crowd erupted, expecting the referee to issue a mandatory 8 count. But to everyone's surprise, it never happened. After the fight, Isaac Cruz weighed in, praising Lamont Roach Jr. for his impressive performance, while criticizing Davis for what he saw as a lackluster showing. Cruz strongly asserted that the fight should not have been ruled a draw, believing Roach was the rightful winner. He also highlighted the critical moment when Davis took a knee, insisting that it should have been scored as a knockdown, something the judges failed to recognize.
Pues ahora sí que dieron una gran pelea, ahora sí que me sorprendió la pelea que dio Lamont Roach y bueno, fue una gran pelea para todos los aficionados.
¿Tú crees que fue un empate?
No, yo creo que no, creo que le quedó la de ver la caída de Lamont Roach, pero bueno, decisión de los jueces y del referee que no le hizo válida la caída, no le hizo el...
Cruz admired Roach's approach, noting his effective pressure, counterpunching, and ability to absorb Davis's best shots. At the same time, he felt that Davis lacked his usual sharpness, especially in terms of defensive discipline. Despite his criticism, Cruz expressed interest in a rematch, believing it would be an exciting and intriguing contest.
Se apostó a un solo round, que a un solo golpe para poderlo noquear, y el cual Loma venía muy bien preparado, muy bien concentrado en el plan de trabajo. Bueno, creo que a Tank le faltó presionar, tirar más golpes para ser más contundente y que se viera más efectivo a la hora de la victoria.
¿Te gustaría ver una revancha entre ellos?
Pues estaría muy agradable, ahora sí que la primera estuvo muy buena, yo creo que la segunda también.
Instead of immediately signaling a knockdown when Gervonta Davis took a knee, referee Steve Willis hesitated, and that's when the controversy began. He looked at Davis and asked what had happened. Davis responded by touching his face and claiming that grease from his hair had gotten into his eyes. Rather than ruling it a knockdown, Willis allowed Davis a few seconds to recover before letting the fight continue. Brian Custer referred to this as a missed call that should have given Roach 2 extra points, which would have significantly impacted the scorecards. Custer also found it surprising that 2 of the 3 judges had Davis ahead after 6 rounds, despite Roach seeming to control much of the fight.
If you're Lamont Roach, that's probably the biggest thing that's disappointing, because that's 2 points right then and there. I thought it was interesting that most of the 2 of the 3 judges had, Gervonta up after 6 rounds.
The decision was met with immediate boos from the crowd, as replays clearly showed that Davis had taken a knee after a clean shot. By all standard rules, that should have been scored as a knockdown. Had it been ruled correctly, Roach would have gained an extra point on all scorecards, likely securing the win. Following the controversial result, Wade Plens, host of the Asterisk Wade concept channel, strongly criticized the judges for not scoring the clear knockdown when Davis voluntarily took a knee. He argued that, regardless of the reason, the moment should have been ruled as a knockdown, which could have changed the final score in Lamont Roach's favor. He expressed frustration with boxing's scoring controversies and how they hurt the sport's credibility. This is why boxing loses fans left and right. Tank clearly took a knee voluntarily, and regardless of the reason for it, it should have been considered a knockdown. I still had it 75 for Lamont Roach, and that win was taken from him. Such BS. Despite the controversy, Roach stayed focused and continued pressing the action in the final rounds. Davis, knowing he needed to make up ground, increased his urgency, but Roach kept landing sharp counters. In the final round, both fighters went all out. Davis connected with a big left hook, but Roach fired back with a beautiful 3-punch combination. Demetrius Andrade shared his thoughts on the fight, acknowledging that it turned out to be much more competitive than many had anticipated. He noted that Lamont Roach Jr. displayed unexpected qualities, particularly in terms of power and distance control. According to Andrade, Roach came well-prepared and showcased his skills at the highest level, making it an exciting and highly technical fight. It was a great fight. Roach had something that we all weren't expecting. He had power, his distance was good, he came in ready to fight and showcase that. Man, we had a good fight overall. While Andrade expressed uncertainty about whether Roach had done enough to win, he made it clear that he didn't agree with the fight being ruled a draw. He hinted that the decision may not have been entirely fair, given the controversy surrounding the judging. Despite this, he appreciated the quality of the fight and expressed interest in seeing a rematch.
He came in ready, prepared to fight, and he showcased that. And man, we had a good fight overall. It was a good IQ fight.
You know, honestly, do you think Roach pulled it off?
I'm not going to say that at all. I don't think that the draw is good, Other than that, it was a great fight. We'll love to see it again.
Terrence Crawford also expressed his disbelief over the referee's decision not to count Gervonta Davis's momentary knee as a knockdown. He hinted at possible bias or inconsistency in the officiating, questioning how such a fundamental rule could be ignored. His words echoed the frustration shared by many fans and analysts, who saw this as a missed call that could have altered the fight's outcome. He shared on his X account, "I've never seen someone take a knee and not have it counted as a knockdown. Most of y'all forgot the rules for tonight." Crawford compared the controversial moment in the Davis versus Roach Jr. fight to Floyd Mayweather's bout against Carlos Hernandez. He pointed out that when Mayweather took a knee due to a hand injury, it was ruled a knockdown even though it wasn't caused by a punch. He then tweeted, "Some of y'all need to watch Mayweather versus Hernandez and see Mayweather take a knee because he hurt his hand, and it was called a knockdown, even though it wasn't from a punch." Crawford did not hold back in his criticism of the decision, bluntly stating that Roach was robbed. "They robbed that boy, and it's crazy," he said. When the scorecards were announced, the arena erupted. One judge had Davis winning 115 to 113, while the other two scored at 114 to 114, resulting in a majority draw. Roach looked visibly frustrated but composed, knowing he had clearly outboxed Davis in multiple rounds. Had the ninth round knockdown been scored correctly, he would have secured the win. The scorecard became the most criticized aspect of the fight. The backlash wasn't just from fans and fighters. Promoters and commentators also voiced their discontent. ESPN analyst Teddy Atlas called it one of the worst non-calls he'd seen in years, while Showtime's Brian Custer remarked, "If this fight had been anywhere else, Roach would be walking away with the belt." Before the fight, Showbiz the Adult had been critical of Lamont Roach Jr., questioning whether Roach was a strong enough matchup for Davis. He had doubts about Roach's abilities and whether he belonged in the ring with a fighter of Davis's caliber. However, after witnessing Roach's performance, Showbiz completely changed his stance. In a video released post-fight, he admitted, "Roach cooked me," meaning that Roach had thoroughly proven him wrong with his display of skill, toughness, and strategy.
Other than that, two-tone, Showbiz, I'm like, come on, all right. They don't know nothing about boxing.
What? I'm gonna tell you this. I got cooked. Roach, you cooked. You right. You right. That was my bad. I really ain't got. Only thing I can say to you, Roach, my bad. You ain't got to see me, dog. What you did with Tank, you ain't got to see me, dog.
Despite the controversial ending, a rematch between Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach Jr. seems unlikely. When asked about it post-fight, Davis dismissed the idea, saying, "I won that fight. Ain't no need for a rematch." Roach, on the other hand, made it clear that he wanted another shot, stating, "Everyone knows I won. I'll run it back anytime, anywhere." Paulie Malignaggi criticized Davis's career trajectory, pointing out that despite headlining multiple pay-per-view events, Davis has yet to defeat a truly elite opponent. Malignaggi emphasized that Davis's resume lacks victories over Hall of Fame-level fighters, which he believes diminishes his legacy.
Yeah, I've never seen a guy with this many pay-per-view headliners have not a single Hall of Famer on his resume. Not a single win on Gervonta Davis's resume will make you look at it like, wow, like maybe Jose Pedraza's rather solid.
Paulie Malignaggi acknowledged that a draw wasn't the worst possible decision, but argued that Lamont Roach should have won outright due to a crucial mistake by the referee. He pointed out that two judges had the fight even, but if the referee had correctly ruled Gervonta Davis's knee touch as a knockdown, Roach would have won by a single point on 2 of the scorecards.
I don't think the draw is the worst decision in the world. I think, obviously Lamont overperformed here, or at least the look is that he overperformed. But I'll tell you where robbery can come into play. 2 scorecards were even. There's a knockdown not given to Lamont Roach.
Malignaggi referenced Floyd Mayweather's fight against Carlos Hernandez, where Mayweather took a knee due to an injured hand, and the referee counted it as a knockdown. He stated that the same rule should have applied to Davis, and the failure to enforce it ultimately robbed Roach of a well-deserved victory.
Let's remember when Mayweather did this against Carlos Hernandez years ago when his hand hurt, the referee counted him. So that was counted as a knockdown. Steve Willis is supposed to count that as a knockdown. And if Steve Willis counts that as a knockdown, Lamont wins by 1 point on 2 scorecards. And that knee that Gervonta Davis took ends up becoming the difference on the scorecard.
The Davis versus Roach fight will go down as one of the most debated results in recent boxing history. While the judges ruled it a draw, most observers felt Roach was the rightful winner. The controversial non-call in the 9th round only added fuel to the fire, leading many to question the integrity of the officiating. Although the official decision did not declare Lamont Roach Jr. the winner, Paulie Malignaggi believed Roach was the true victor in terms of performance. He emphasized that Roach's skill, toughness, and ring control stood out, making him the fighter who truly won the night despite the judge's ruling. I think the draw is controversial, but I think Lamont Roach wins the night. His performance wins the night. This fight between Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach Jr. will be talked about for a long time due to all the controversy. The biggest question now is whether Davis will give Roach a rematch. Would a second fight settle the debate, or did Roach already prove he was the better man that night? What do you think? Did Lamont Roach do enough to win, or was the draw the right call? Let us know your thoughts.